Hello. Hello. Let's see if we can, grab the computer. Sorry about that. Getting a bit close and going underneath you. And see if we can refresh the screen so that we can see if we're live. This is obviously not Lizzy, but I am here as Lizzy tonight, so that it makes it easier to upload videos potentially to YouTube. Otherwise we have to send them to each other and do all sorts of funny things. So yeah, so it's Monday night and it's the 26th of May. Where did May go? Who can say? Really? Who can say? So let's turn the sound off on that. So yeah, so it's there we go. Press the right button. It always helps, doesn't it? And then we'll make that bigger so that we can see if anybody's joining us. So it's lovely to be with you again tonight. We had some time last week, didn't we? If you watched on Lizzy's page, we did some lovely stitching last week as well, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. And we got another little project for you today. So hopefully you will have seen the posts and the email and everything about it. And as soon as we get a few more people in, I shall have a chat with you about that as well. So let's have a look. Yeah, we've got lots of people. So hello to everybody. I'm not going to call out names because I miss people, and then I don't like that. I like to say hello to everybody. So hello everybody. And the boss is watching, so careful what you say. Careful what you say. So it's lovely to, we've got lots and lots of people already, so it's lovely to see you, and thank you for a bit of your company tonight. Because yeah, I know people will watch it back, but it's always nice to have somebody live to talk to, isn't it? I always feel much easier when there are people to talk to. I press the button to go live and I think, I hope somebody joins me. It doesn't matter if nobody joined me, because I know people will catch up, because I know, people have got other things that they have to be doing at some stages in the week, and life seems to get in the way sometimes, doesn't it? So hello and welcome to everybody. So I'm going to make a start because I want to first of all talk to you about what I did last week. So this behind me is our home time project, and if you were watching last week, or if you've seen any of the live or posts or anything since, and I know a lot of you have because you've already signed up and joined in, you'll know that I demonstrated a little bit, actually I wonder if I can pull it off. Yeah, I demonstrated this little single house last week, and I've got it hanging up on my wall because I really like it as a wall hanging. I was going to use it for a placemat or a big coffee mat or something in the middle of my coffee table, or my occasional table, and I rather like it as a wall hanging, so it might have to go next to the original one when I do hang them up. But this is the subject of a workshop. So all you need to do for that, if you'd like to do the workshop, it's over 3 nights in September, so you've got loads of time to get prepared and everything, and the pattern will be included in the workshop, so you'll be able to download the pattern from the files in the special group. Now I haven't put it in yet, but it'll be there in plenty of time, don't worry about it. The pattern's all ready, obviously, but I don't want to put it in too soon because people will be making it and then we won't be able to all stitch together. So that will be available a bit nearer the time. So if you want to sign up for the workshop, then the workshop is on Lizzy's website, and it's under the tab on the homepage that says Kath's Workshop. So there's just the one workshop in that tab at the moment, and that's September. If you want to, you know that this is simple FPP and applique and a bit of free motion stitching if you want to, or a bit of hand stitching, or whatever you want, and you decorate your home the way that you want it to, or your homes, should I say. This is very simple FPP. The butterfly needle case is one of Lizzy's patterns, and that is the subject of a workshop as well. So that's in the workshops a bit of the shop, so you'll be able to go to the home page and find mine for home time and Lizzy's beautiful butterfly Butterfly FPP workshop, and that's over 3 nights, 3 Friday nights in July. So we're giving you August off because the children are obviously off school, and there'll be grandchildren to look after and places to go and people to see and things like that. You might even be going on holiday in August. I don't know whether I'd want to, but you never know. So yeah, July and September are your workshop dates. So don't forget, if you want to sign up for those, there's a dedicated Facebook group. So as soon as you sign up, download your information from your confirmation email and get into the workshop groups as soon as you can, because then you don't forget, and because obviously those downloads expire after 30 days. So that was a little bit of just ahead of time that is all scheduled for you, and all looking really good. So thank you. Oh, thank you, Mary. Mary says my hair looks lovely. That's because I've been to the hairdresser today and I've had a trim and I've had a different colour. I'm embracing the grey. My hair is not really this colour, but underneath is this colour, and so this is what we're doing. Oh, just got back from Lancashire. Oh, there you go, Carol. I'm glad you're home safe. So that's the future things. Thank you so much for everybody who's signed up so far to both the groups, but don't forget, sign up for them. It's never too early, and it could be too late. Who knows? It won't be too late until after the workshops, obviously, and then you can still sign up and watch them back. The features of the workshop are that the downloads will go to YouTube channels, and that will be so watchable only for you if you've paid for it. So we give you the links for that in the special groups once we've finished the workshops. Facebook doesn't delete them for 30 days, so we can get, as we do one, we can put it on and you can watch it either back in the group or on YouTube straight away. We'll explain all that in the groups anyway when the time comes. So what we've got for you today is another little pattern, and I thought it would be nice to do something that was really, really useful, but was fun to make, and that had several uses, if you like. And so I surreptitiously, I can't even speak, put the pattern on the website lunchtime-ish. And I thought, I'll see how many people notice it. Well, you've all passed the test because, well, not all of you, but lots of you have passed the test. I know that because lots of you have bought the pattern already. So thank you so much for that. I'm sure you're going to love it, and we're going to have a lovely time tonight stitching along. But I've started off wanting to do this with crumb piecing or crumb quilting, whatever you want to call it. It's basically putting scraps of, smaller scraps usually, of fabrics together to make a fabric and then make something out of it. And I thought it'd be rather nice to use up scraps, because you know this is Scraps 2025, it's been dedicated as that, and so I wanted to use up some of the smaller scraps as well as some of the more sizable ones and cut them up and things like that. So here is the result of our work. And so, well, this is the result of my work. It's not the result of your work yet, but I'm sure yours is going to be as scrummy. So we've got crumb quilting back and front. We've got toweling inside, and I'll tell you a little secret about the toweling in a moment. And then we've got some, what I call makeup remover pads. You can call them cleansing pads. You can call them exfoliating pads. You can call them what you like, because you can use them with whatever you like. So you can use it with your cleanser and toner, you can use it to take off your makeup, you can use it to put on your makeup, you can, whatever you're dabbing on. Even if you've got, I don't like to say fake tan, but sun-free tanning lotion you can use these. And of course they're cotton on that side. Well, do you know, that was a piece of crumb quilting, but it just happened to be that it was a bigger piece, and so it's come out, and I kept that in because I wanted to show you that you can make it with any fabric. You don't have to do crumb quilting with it. And then these of them just happen to be different fabrics, and I had the summery theme here going on. I really loved this. If you remember Audra, if you don't remember Audra, go and have a look, because Audra was made from lots of these fabrics, especially the bright yellows and the blues and things like this. So, and then on the back they've got the toweling. And then what we do is we turn the bag inside out. You don't have to push the corners out, well, only to get your hand in, and then it becomes our shower mitten. And then once you've finished showering, you've sorted your face out, you've done all that, and you've dirtied all your pads, you pop your pads inside, pull the drawstring shut and throw the whole lot in the washing machine, because the whole lot is cotton, and so you can put that on whatever temperature wash that you normally put it in. If your pads are full of makeup and you want them a little bit washed a little bit more, you can put it on a hotter wash. I've closed this with a cord, and it's a cotton cord because of the bit about putting it in the washing machine. You can finish it with whatever you want to. So if you've got other cord, just be careful. If it's acrylic or polyester based, then don't put it in too hot. So that's our little project. She is called Scrumble. I am not responsible for the name. I said I sent the details to Lizzy, and I said, now I just need a name for it, and she dedicated Scrumble. That's it. So she's christened Scrumble. I bought bamboo toweling about a year ago because I wanted to do this but never got round to it. That's fantastic, Sue. See, bamboo would be as good if not better. A little story about my my toweling. Bear with me a minute. I'm just going to grab these over here. Now, back in 2020, when we were suffering from being locked down and then being open a bit and then locked back down and then being open a bit, I decided in my downstairs bathroom that I would have some face cloths instead of towels, so that one could wipe one's hands and pop it in the bin, and then I could come along and put it into the washing machine. 5 years ago. These are they. Look at them. They're not awfully white. I'm not ashamed of them because they are 5 years old. They have gone in a boil wash. They have gone in with other things, and they've come out. And like towels do get when they get older, or flannels or face cloths, they're a little bit, they're not quite so soft. Now, I bought some towels. I don't know what I've done with them. I bought some towels specially to use for these guest towels from Amazon. They were ever so cheap, and to cut up. And then I thought, no, I'm going to use these because I'm recycling them. There's nothing wrong with them. There's no holes in them. They are clean. They've been bleached. They've been all sorts of things, and so they are clean. They're just not quite as soft. But you see, there's a bit of a to-do in our family. Love Scrumble, yes. There's a bit of a to-do in our family because I like a scratchy towel. When I get out of the shower, I like to have a huge towel, and I like it a bit scratchy. I don't like it too velvety because I feel that it dries me better, and it I don't know, it stimulates and gets you dry. Nice. Now, my daughter-in-law loves the fluffiest towel in the world, and so we have this debate about which is the best towel. So she has her towels and I have my towel, and so I'm quite happy, especially if you're exfoliating or something like that. You know, if you've used one of those scrubby things to wash on your face, and then you want to get it off with your pads, then it's really lovely because it really feels, and your skin tingles. It's really nice. So you use whatever you want to, and bamboo, Sue, would be fantastic. So do I. I don't like towels too soft. No, I'm the same, and my mum was the same, to be quite honest. It's really strange, isn't it, what we like. But you see, I like a great big bath sheet, huge, the bigger the better. And my mum just used to use one small bath towel to stand on, and then a small towel to dry herself with. And I used to say to her, why don't you wrap yourself in a big towel, Mum? No, I don't like it. I like to get dry straight away. We've all got our habits, and if you're somebody that's still using cotton pads and throwing them away afterwards, don't be ashamed. There's no need to be ashamed. They're there for us to use for our choice. However, I feel that this is something that saves the waste, doesn't it? It recycles what we're using. It would have been such a waste to put those face cloths in the bin, and they would just go to landfill. And the same with your scraps if you put them in the bin. So this can be used time and time again. So I feel as if I'm doing a little bit of something for the planet, and I think that's really good. And my daughter-in-law approved. She's a big recycling person, and I try to always. And so this is something that I've been meaning to do for a long time. And the fact that it's a shower mitt as well is just a bonus. Is just a bonus. So don't forget, with this pattern, which is here, here's the pattern. This is what you're looking for on the website. The pattern is available for you to buy from the website. So that's Lizzy's website, obviously. And for everybody that buys a pattern on Wednesday, so don't expect it too soon. On Wednesday, Lizzy and we're going to send the emails out on Wednesday for you to get a free pattern. And there's on Lizzy's page, there's a photograph of the lovely free pattern. It's a pouch, it's beautiful, and the techniques in it are lovely. So shall we stop going on? I've gone on for about 10-15 minutes now, so let's stop going on and let's start sewing. I'm going to put my computer right over there so I can still see what you're saying. It's got to be scratchy every time. I know, lovely scratchy. I'm so pleased that there's people on my side. I'm going to put my little one up there. Have you noticed that there's one here as well? So this is another one, because what I'm going to do is I've got a little hanging hook on my mirror in my ensuite room off our bedroom, and I'm going to put two up there, one full of clean ones and one to put used ones in, so that when I get enough in there I can throw that in the washing machine and I've still got one to use. So that's what I'm going to do. And actually, by the end of tonight, I'll have 3. So, lucky me. Right, let's get on. I've done a little bit of preparation, but I'm going to do some crumb quilting, I think, first. So let's turn the phone down. And I'm just going to stand up for this a little bit. I want you to be able to see as well as possible. So, how's that for a view? Oh, thank you, Ty. I just use what comes to hand, so it's always the boss's choice. Absolutely. Well, I think, Peter, you've probably said what my husband would say as well. But you know, Neil needs to use moisturiser. He's got very dry skin, and so it would be lovely for him to have one of these, and I'll make it in some colours that suit him. And yeah, so this is really for anybody, isn't it? So fantastic. Let me take the cord out of the way. That I always leave that to the last minute because I'm paranoid about my power running out, my battery running out while we're in the midst of doing stuff. So I've prepared an awful lot, but I wanted you to have a look at my crumb quilting. Now, I'm not the expert on crumb quilting. I am no Jenny Doan, and if you don't know who Jenny Doan is, she is from Missouri Quilt Company, and she is probably, you know, the world's leading expert on crumb quilting. But what I do is I tend here, I've ironed lots of bits and pieces, and this is what I've cut off when I've been doing my preparation for my scrumble. So I've got all little pieces there and I've ironed those. But what I tend to do, as a piece gets bigger, I tend to start another piece and then another piece. And so what I've got here is a little bit of stuff that can be joined together. So I think I'm going to join that one to that one. So I'm going to put that there like that, and I'm going to sew along there. Now I know this is not the same, but I tend to try and marry them up, and then I'll stitch down the one that's obviously on the inside, and then I tend to just use my rotary cutter and trim it off. So I'm going to join this up so that it becomes a kind of better size to be able to join it to this one, and then we've got bigger scope. Now I could just use this and cut out my squares for my pads, but I've already done them. But I just wanted to show you how I do crumb quilting. I don't think there's a right or wrong way. Elaine, they would make fabulous presents, absolutely. And of course we are all getting prepared for the big C word at the end of the year, and craft fairs and what have you. So I'm going to sew my bit of crumb quilting together, or crumb piecing, call it what you like. I tend to go with crumb quilting, knowing that I'm piecing and not quilting. Does that make sense? But, you know, whatever. And then I'll take my rotary cutter and I'll cut that seam allowance to anything between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch. I wouldn't go less than 1/8 because obviously we don't want this to. And I just realised that I've sewn that on with a stitch length of 3 because that was what I was using before, but that doesn't matter. And now I've got kind of an edge there. Can you see? It's a little bit rickety, but I can actually trim that off if I want to as well. And these little tiny scraps are not going to be. So if I go like that, I think these tiny scraps are not any good for anything, but they just make it makes life simpler for me. You don't have to trim off until after you've stitched or whatever if you don't want to, but I find it makes life easier for me rather than putting something on and not liking it. So I can now put these two together. They're a little bit long, so what I try and do, and only sort of half-heartedly, is try not to get too many seams on top of each other. So I'm going to go that way a little bit. There we go. And now I can stitch down that side as well. So this is just showing you how I do my bit of crumb quilting. I am going to turn that down because it's far too big, and I probably will want to use this for another bag. Make sure you iron these very regularly that you put together, because it helps the seams to lie nice and flat. Some people open their seams as well. Well, I think there are far too many for me to think about opening seams on crumb quilting, to be quite honest. I don't think that's me at all. So then you see what we've got is a much bigger piece that we can get something out of, and then all we need to do is to just give that a good press. And I don't think I'll have to do very much more with this piece of crumb quilting. Hi Eileen, pretty colours together they are, aren't they? These are these pinks and this and this and so 1, 2, 3, 4. There's another one somewhere. Are all one bundle. I think I had 1/2 meters, and I can't remember what I've done out of it, but I think you've seen it before, and I had lots of bits of scraps left over. And so there we have the makings of another scrumble. It's not quite big enough yet, but that's what that's going to be for. So let's start off making our scrumble. We can put that over there out of the way, and I'm going to start by making the bag. So all I need is to cut, obviously the pattern will tell you all the dimensions, to cut my toweling and my crumb quilting, 2 pieces of one and 2 pieces of the other. And as you can see, my fabric is slightly smaller than my toweling, or should I say my toweling is slightly bigger than my fabric. Now you might get little ends like that when you're crumb quilting, but don't worry about this because we're going to be using a pinking shears a bit later on. So this is such an easy and quick pattern. So what I'm going to do with this is to spray with 505 spray, or the adhesive fabric spray of your choice. You don't have to spray it. You could tack it on. You could pin it on. You could, well, I don't know. You could, yeah, pin or tack. Same as you would with a quilt, except we're only using 2 layers instead of 3. So, and when I do that, I like to iron it, because I think it helps to stick the fabrics together as well. Whatever fabrics you've got, if you iron 2 pieces together, they kind of stick with a little bit of static electricity. They make their own power. So there's our next one. And I really didn't bother at all about where I cut my crumb quilting, my fabrics. I didn't worry about it at all. So there could be pieces that we lose. There could be seams on the edges. You know, like this, look at this tiny little piece of purple there. You know, who knows where it might land up. And if any of you look at fabrics together, let me just show you some of these pieces and these pieces and things like that. You can never foresee what they're going to turn out like, and you think, oh, I'm not sure about putting those pieces together. But you know, when you've got a big piece as well, you think, oh, I don't know, I think some of those pieces are too big, some of them are too small. Don't actually even think about it, because what happens is they kind of all blend. So something that this might have gone on for ages. I don't know whether it did, I can't remember, but it could have gone on for ages. And the same with this piece, is quite wide, but after you've cut it, it looks fantastic, whatever you've done. So don't be afraid of that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to quilt these. Now, it's not exactly quilting, I know, because it's not 3 layers, etc., etc. However, what it is going to do is it's going to hold my fabrics permanently together. And when we're using it as a shower mitten, we don't want the layers coming apart, because as soon as you wash this, the fabric spray adhesive that we've used will be gone, and we don't want the fabrics coming apart. That's just going to be inconvenient. So do a little bit, even if it's just my pen running out. Yeah, I might have to buy some more pens. These don't owe me anything. I hope this one's going to work. Oh, see, no. That one doesn't work either. Well, there's only one more in the pot. And if this one doesn't work, I don't know what I'm going to do. That one's not going to work either. So, bear with me. Let me see if I've got one over here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm only over here. There's a blue one sticking out of my bag. I could see it. I spied it. Let's hope that one works. I can't believe all 3 of those have run out. Phew. Blue saved my bacon. So if you only want to do that, then that's enough to keep those 2 layers together once that fabric adhesive has worn off. I am going to do a few more lines. Now you can use a ruler to mark this, or you can just use your footer if you've got a quilting guide. You can use that, or you can just play it by ear and do what you want to do. You can do some stipple quilting if you want to, just big pieces, so don't spend loads of time on it. And don't forget, the more quilting you do, the more your fabric shrinks. So don't spend huge amounts of time on this. There is really no need. And the lovely thing about it, because we've got toweling on the back, or bamboo, or toweling type fabric, then it doesn't show on the back, unless you use a bright coloured thread, which of course you could if you wanted to. So I'm going to go a couple of inches apart. Doesn't really matter, but it just means I can incorporate the corner a little bit. And then I'm going to whiz this with a stitch length of 3 down on the machine, and that'll be that sorted. So I've just gone corner to corner, so I've got diamonds rather than going at 45-degree angle. I haven't measured them, I don't know what angle they are. And frankly, I don't really care what angle they are. Don't mind a bit. It's not important. What is important is that it's just secure. And that it looks pretty, of course. So who's bought one? Who's going to make one? Who's making one now? Tell me all the juicy goss, because I really need to know. Forgotten to buy new friction pens. Forgotten how expensive they are. I know they are, really. They are. But you know, I've bought cheap ones, and it just wasn't worth it. To be honest, it just wasn't worth it. Can you see the machine from where you are? Yes, you can. So I'm going to go onto the machine and I'm going to whiz along. If you're making this for a gift, then obviously you're going to be, and I'm going to do a bit of chain quilting. Well, who ever heard of that? If you're going to do this to give away, then you be careful, you do it beautifully and what have you. If it's going in an ensuite like mine is, where nobody ever goes, especially without permission, then you know, you could just do whatever quilting you wanted. You could even draw 2 circles on it, one at the top, one at the bottom, and that would hold the fabrics together. Really isn't important. So like I say, don't waste loads of time on it. I bought a pattern and sewing along. Oh, well done, Jill. Fabulous, thank you. And great for sewing along. I think Di said she was going to be sewing along as well earlier when I put a post up, and she said she's all ready to sew along. So I hope she is. I hope there's people sewing along, because it's so easy. You'll have made this long before you have to go to bed. So we'll get used to this chain piecing malarkey, won't we, with, it's not piecing, is it? It's quilting. With the pads, because I've chain pieced the pads as well. And I'll show you what I mean by that, or chain quilted, whichever. We just had a little flurry of excitement. I heard sirens. There was like a fire brigade documentary type thing on the television, and I heard sirens and thought that it was on the television. Turns out it was on our lane outside the house. Police sirens, and stopped right outside the house. You can hardly see because of the hedgerow there. And we could hear voices, but we couldn't, not that we tried to, but we couldn't hear what was being said. Don't quite know what it was all about, but it was quickly resolved by the seam of it. So that was a little bit of excitement. I'm glad the sirens didn't come in the middle of my live. Might finish this off ordinarily now. We've gone all the way up there except for that one. Now we're coming shorter. We don't need to. I'm going to cut off a few ends while I'm here. There we go. So we just got this one and those 2 left to do. So let's do those. And then we're going to start measuring to make our channel. I'm going to get the pattern later after. Sorry, my little mouse was in the way there. My thing. I'll get the pattern later after the live. Great for my granddaughters, especially if I pick out their favourite characters and colours. Absolutely. And it's great for travelling, you know. You can put a few bits and pieces in there. You know, when you've got a toiletries bag and it's full to overflowing because you've got all your toiletries. You know, we don't half use a lot of toiletries. And then you've got your cleansers, your toners, your makeup, all that kind of thing. Well, some of them can go in the bag with these, can't they? That's, you know, that's the whole idea, is that it's storage, it's carriage, it's all sorts of useful things. So there's that one. This one has got a couple left to do on this side. And then I'm going to give them a press. And we're going to do our channel, like I said. Now, it's the simplest channel you have ever done. I wanted to keep this very simple so that it would encourage beginners or experienced stitchers alike to make them. Because I love producing patterns and I love doing demonstrations and I love to sew them. What really gives me joy is when I see somebody else making our patterns, or Lizzy's patterns, or my patterns, and I can see that they've really had fun doing it, because that just makes life sweet. Makes life sweet. And that's that bit. So we've got one more to do on the corner. So we're thinking that there's only about 10 rows of stitching to do in each one. And of course, after you've done the centre ones, they get smaller and smaller. So no problem there. So there we go. I'm going to give them, oops, just nearly dropped my ruler. Give them a little, everything is covered with threads and bits off the face cloth. I'm going to give them a press to get rid of the green and blue, and also to make them really smashing. And they're always easier to use as well, and to continue working with when you've pressed them. A few more threads. I'm getting covered myself with threads. There we go. I'm throwing them all on the floor, but never mind. The bin's behind me, or by the side of me, I should say. Some of them will go in, some of them will need to be picked up by the picking up fairy. Guess who that is? There's a bit of fluff there. Okay, so there we have it. Now what we're going to do, once these are cool, and I can do the step afterwards first, is we're going to pick the top. So pick which you like as the top. I really don't mind. And we're going to use, I've got a new toy, look at this, a scalloped pinking shears instead of a zigzaggy one. Going to make a few that really look useful. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely they are. So I'm just going to go along one of the short edges that I'm going to use as my top, and I'm going to trim that just into the fabric. Now you'll need to either be very careful or grab somebody a lot stronger. My hands aren't great and I find this difficult to do. So we're going to do that. It doesn't matter whether you do this step first or the next step, but I wanted them to cool for a minute. So only about 1/8 of an inch into that fabric. You see I'm having to press down with 2 hands. Sometimes I think it's easier to do it. Well, no. And my hands have been particularly sore this last few weeks. But never mind, we still get on with it. And then we want to measure down from the top and just draw a line. So I'm so glad my blue pen is working. So I'm going to measure down from the top as it says on the pattern, and I'm going to draw a line. Now don't forget that if you're making these for somebody with little hands, maybe a young teenager or something like that, smaller hands, then you can adjust the size down. The pattern tells you the size, but it's a guide. Or if you're making them for, say, a man with big hands, then, you know, he'll need to be able to get his hand in to use this as a shower mitten. Well, and to pull out the pads and things as well, aren't you? You want a bit of room. But this is ideal for my size hands. I don't have big hands, but I don't have tiny ones either. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use that line as our guide, and we are going to fold on that line. Now, don't forget, you've got seams. You've got bulky fabric, and so don't expect any of this to be, you know, a flat, crisp edge. Once you've stitched and ironed it, then of course it will be. But this is rustic. It's not rustic from a slapdash point of view. It's rustic from the point of view that it's made by hand and with fabrics that, you know, are not, they're not silk, are they? And indeed, you wouldn't want to use silk and put that in the washing machine every time you wiped your face with it. So, have we got any more comments? No, I haven't missed anything. Right then, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch just 1/8 of an inch in from that, what I call peaked edge. I don't know what it is, but I'm just going to sew 1/8 of an inch in there to hold that in place. Now over the fabrics, just at the edge here, so you can see that that toweling is bigger than, it sticks out from underneath the fabric here. So I am going to do, when I come down here, I'm going to do a back stitch along this fabric into about 1/4 of an inch, because we want that to be strong, because we're going to be pulling a cord through it. And we also are not sewing this end, and we're also trimming the end. So when we trim over the stitches, we need to have them back stitched. So just make sure that those are secure. I'm not going to stitch over my pin. So I'm going to go a fair way in, and if I can find the foot of my machine. And this is, it's a little bit bigger than 1/8 of an inch, but it doesn't matter so long as you can get your cord through, because we've measured how big the channel will be, and as long as they're the same. And if they're not, it's not a dress, nobody has to wear it. So that's one done. So you can see I've got my channel over that side. Whoops. And you can see that although you can see diamond shapes, you can't see any cotton showing on the quilting at the back there. So here we go again. Okay, so those edges, I think I've sewn over them 3 times in some areas, so they'll be nice and strong. And when we put these together, we're going to put them together, wrong sides together, and you can see that, give or take a tater, they are the same. And I think what we'll do is this is the slightly shorter one, so I think what we'll do is we'll sew them together from this end, from this side. So I'm going to put some clips on there down the sides, so we've put them towel inside or wrong side, whichever you want to call it, together. Just going to put the clip on the bottom, and this is only to stop the fabrics from flaring up. So you can see this back one is a tiny bit smaller than the front one, and that's not lined up very well. That's better. And so I'm going to use my smallest one as my guide to to stitch around the edges. And we're going to stitch from this line of stitching along here. We're not going to stitch here, this is staying open. Don't forget, we'll trim it in a minute. And we're going to stitch 1/4 of an inch from the fabric. So from here, so from there, 1/4 of an inch in, not 1/4 of an inch from the edge here. And that's why if you use your fabric as a guide and the smallest piece, then this is probably the quilting that's brought it in a little bit. And poor stitching, poor cutting, and the fact that we're stitching on stretchy toweling. So we're going to stitch from the channel stitching, so we're leaving the top open. We're going to stitch down the sides and along the bottom, so you can do that whichever way you want to. Now, when I did it last time, I went from the bottom up because it's easier than going all over the bulk just here. And then I did along the bottom afterwards. So I'm going to use my foot as 1/4 of an inch guide, and that 1/4 of an inch guide is on the edge of the fabrics. Okay. And I probably should have turned my foot down a little bit. And then use that line of stitch in there to know when to stop. And then I'm going backwards and forwards 3 times. So that's one side done. And then I'm going to endeavour to go now, because I've got my walking foot on. I don't know whether it will work very well, but the walking foot is very useful. So I'm going to use my seam ripper. I don't need it to come down, and just make sure that it's nice and flat. And you can come off the edge if you want to, and then we're going to go across the bottom. So do a few back stitches across here as well. Okay, so I'm going to look on the bottom on the other side, and we're well into both sides. Okay, so we know that whatever we do now, our sides are together and they're matching. So just get rid of some of our threads, and then comes the difficult bit. And the difficult bit is the pinking of the 4 layers. I'm going about 1/8 of an inch again from the bottom. My hands are tired. So what I suggest, if you've got any issues with your hands or with strength in your fingers or pain from arthritis, anything like that, or you're just not very strong, because my hands have never been very strong, even without arthritis when I was younger, then you could obviously get somebody else to do this little bit for you, or why not trim it with a scissors or with a rotary cutter, and then because you can trim 1 layer at a time then, and then you could put it under your machine and just now, sorry, I stopped then because I was concentrating. You can put it under your machine and satin stitch or any edge stitching that you want to do. Great for recycling, absolutely. So when I come to the top, I can't manage all those layers. So I'm just going to, actually I'm going to go that way because it's the wrong way around otherwise. I'm going to do 1 side at a time. When I say 1 side, I mean the back and the front. And then I'm going to cut that off. So do you see now why we needed to have our stitches reinforced there? And then I'm going to come up the other side. You kind of get into a stride with this once you've started. it's not as bad as you think. Careful with your fingers, but I think it is easier picking it up and doing it. And then trim that off with the scissors. And then fold one back and do the one side, and then we can do the other side from inside. So that's all my bits done. So there is our bag more or less finished. And so I'm just going to, now if you want to use 2 strings, 2 cords, so that you go round and around, then you can pull them together that way. I just felt that it was a little bit bulky with the toweling. I'll get my words out in a minute. I felt it was a little bit bulky with the toweling. So all I did was to go through with a single piece of cord. So what I mean is that if you want to, if you're using thinner cord, this is 4mm diameter. If you're using thinner cord, you could do the same thing on the other side. So loop here and ends there, and then it would tie together. So I'm just going to pull that and then tie the end. It's rustic, it's handmade, and it's functional, but it also looks very pretty. So there is our scrumble. So top marks if you've got that far, because I'd already cut out, hadn't I, and done lots of crumb quilting and stuff. But it's lovely, isn't it? You could use a rotary cutter blade that's like a pink and shears. Yes, you could. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's not easy to cut through layers of toweling, even with a rotary cutter, but I feel that it would be much better with a rotary cutter. And, you know, I suppose if you really wanted to, you could trim it down first and then sew it, but I didn't find that so neat. I did try it on a little bit and I didn't find that so neat. Right then, so here I have an assortment of squares. So I've got 4 squares and I've got ready 4 pieces of toweling. So all I did was to cut out, and I'm going to use this and show you. So let's do it from this edge with my rotary cutter if I can find it. If you don't want to just cut one, obviously cut a strip and then subcut your strips. Don't worry about your edges if they're not entirely straight. I haven't double checked the other side. And I've got my 505 spray. And I'm just going to put a little circle in the centre. And I'm going to pop that in the centre, because exactly the same with the pads as for the bag. We just want to hold these together whilst we do the next stage. And the next stage is to just quilt. So I'm hoping this will work because it's a bit warm. Let's take that out of the way to write on. So what I did with this one was just did one diagonal line. So there's that one ready to quilt along those lines. And I will do the same with those 3, because I'm going to make quite a lot of pads, because I think if you're using them twice a day or something like that, you know, you need a fair few spares. So that's all we do for that, and then we come along and we stitch down here. Now my top tip is, when you stitch along these lines, don't then iron. Now you don't hear me saying that very often, but don't get rid of those lines, because, well, it depends what you're going to use. I found the glass that's exactly the size, the tumbler in my kitchen cupboard, that is exactly the size diameter as what I want on my squares. And so when it came to me having stitched my quilting, I have got, now you won't be able to see it, but on the bottom is embossed with like a tear shape, 2 tear shapes, and so it almost looks like a duck. I don't know quite, it could be a swan, I don't know. But those are right in the centre of the glass. And so as I come to put the glass on the top, now I don't know whether you'll be able to see that. I've got my crosshairs and I've stitched, right? I haven't on this one, but I will have stitched. And then I come to put my glass on the top. I've got the centre of the glass in there, right in the centre of that. Now it really doesn't matter if you put it a bit off centre, as long as you've got enough, you leaving enough on the edges to be able to cut with your pinking shears. But I thought that was really good, that I can see through there that that's in the centre and I don't have to worry about what's on the other sides. So that's a little tip that I did. So then I drew around my glass, and what we're going to do at this point is fairly obvious. We're going to stitch around the circle. So again, I'm going to put my stitch length on 2 and just take it steady. It's not a very acute circle, so if you take it steady, you should just be able to guide around the circle. Now, let's be honest. Let's be very honest here. If this isn't a circle, it's still a good pad. There's nothing wrong with it. It's got fabric on the front, that's pretty, and it's got toweling on the back, that's useful. So it doesn't matter what shape you do. If you don't feel like doing a circle, you could just sew around and have it as a square and then shear it so that your edges don't fray. But the last thing that you want to be doing, well, there's 2 last things, 2 things you don't want to do. And that is, 1, you don't want to worry about it. And 2, you don't want to be worried that that is all going to come undone. So you need to, you know, it's all going to fray, so you need to pink it. And it doesn't matter what shape they are. Now I've got that done, I can give it a good press, get rid of all my pen lines. And now, instead of a chaw, because we're only 2 layers, this is the greatest bit. Look at that, it's like a knife through butter. So again, somewhere between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch. Don't go any closer, because I think it looks pretty when you've got a row of stitching and then your pinked edge. So there you go. That's our little pad. And we pop it in there. And we take them out. We go in the shower, or we do whatever we've got to do. Don't have to have the corners out. That's a lovely hand mitten then. So I am going to leave this at that now. I have got 1 pad completed. I've got 1, 2, 3 to sew. 1, 2, 3 in various stages of progress. So there we go. I'm going to attempt to bring the camera back to me, and so that I don't bring you to seasickness. And oops, it didn't go. There you can see everything that's ready for Scotland on the back there. So there we go. So there's our lovely bag. There's our lovely pad that's going to have lots of little brothers. There's the other one. So this is kind of springy, isn't it? Springtimey. There's the other one. That's summery. And there's my little, I don't know why I've got a clip on there. There's my little flowery one. So I'm nearly already into having 3. 2 for me, 1 for a gift. So I can make lots more of those with lots of fabric. And as I say, if you don't want to do crumb quilting, because you don't have time or because you don't have lots of little scraps or whatever your reason, then you don't have to do it. So don't forget, workshop for home time, workshop for butterfly needle case. If you buy the pattern for Scrumble, it's a lovely word, isn't it? I love Scrumble. I don't even know if it's a proper word, but it's a Scrumble. It's two Scrumbles, it's two crumbles turned round. And if you buy the pattern for Scrumble, by Wednesday, we will be emailing you with the freebie pouch pattern. So thank you so much for joining me. I've now got a little bit of a drive. I'm going down to Devon tonight for a particular busy day tomorrow, so that'll be really good. And I'm all ready to go. I've just got to get a couple of bits and pieces, pop them in the van, and off I go. So I'll be there before 10 o'clock. So I hope you enjoy making these. I hope you love the fact that they are recycled. You know, if you want to make them with new fabrics and with new towels as you're giving them for gifts, that's great. But make your own out of your old towels or your old fabrics, or use some shirting or use some denim. Denim would look lovely on the back of these, or on the front, whatever you call them, of these pads. Denim would look wonderful. Or even if you wanted to, do two pieces of toweling, you know, or cut circles and use one piece of toweling. The world is your oyster, as they say. Thank you again for your company. Thank you for all the sales we've had so far and the ones we're going to have, and happy stitching. Have a wonderful time. See you all soon. Bye bye.